In this video, I will talk about false analogy fallacy. A false analogy fallacy is when you make analogies that are not even, like comparing apples to oranges. When you compare two things, you want to compare two things that are similar, that are parallel, like comparing an orange to a tangerine. Many false analogies occurred during the 2016 election. Faulty analogy or false analogy fallacy. Our language functions through comparisons, and it is common and useful to argue the validity of one point by comparing it to another. But often the comparison suggests that two things are more alike than they really are. Gay marriage has nothing to do with men and their pets. Iraq is nothing similar to Vietnam. Feminism is not at all the same as Nazism. If we legalize gay marriage, next we'll legalize marriage between men and their pets. And so gay marriage has nothing to do with men and their pets. Iraq is another quagmire, just like Vietnam. Iraq is nothing similar to Vietnam. Feminazi. In other words, a lot of feminists are called Nazis, and there's nothing to do, feminism has nothing to do with Nazism. Many vegans believe that eating meat is murder. Well, eating meat has nothing to do with murder. And so once again, in English, there are many people who make faulty analogies or false analogy fallacies. And so during the 2016 election, Clinton also made a faulty analogy by claiming that she is a capable politician while Trump is just a playboy. And so being a politician and a playboy are two different things, and one has nothing to do with the other. And so when you want to compare two things, you want to make sure that the two things are similar, parallel, or have something to do with each other. And so in this example, Clinton says, I was in the Situation Room when they killed Osama bin Laden. What was Trump doing at that time? Trump was starring in The Apprentice. What does Trump know about politics? This is a false analogy fallacy because at the time Clinton was in the Situation Room planning to kill Osama bin Laden, Trump was not yet a politician. However, if Clinton had compared herself to another politician, then she would have had a valid analogy. Comparing a politician to an actor is like comparing apples to oranges, hence a false analogy fallacy. If you want to make a valid analogy, you have to compare two things that are fairly similar. Comparing Bush's and Obama's first 100 days versus Trump's first 100 days. Okay, this is more similar, so therefore you're comparing one politician like Bush to another politician, Obama. And by this time, Trump has already been elected president, so therefore it's okay to compare Trump to other politicians. Whereas when Clinton made the statement about the Situation Room, and then at saying, well, what does Trump know? He's an actor in The Apprentice. Well, at the time, Trump was not a politician. So that's not a valid analogy. That's a false analogy fallacy. So comparing Barbara Bush, Michelle Obama as First Lady is a valid analogy since the thing that links them all together is being First Lady of the President or being wife of a president. So you got to have something that's common to compare everything to. That makes it a valid analogy. So for the most part, faulty analogies are hard for people to tell. So whenever you want to judge, so did this politician make a faulty analogy or is it a valid analogy? Think to yourself, do the two things being compared have anything in common? Or are they apples to oranges? Is it an apples to oranges faulty analogy comparison, or is it an orange to tangerine valid analogy? You gotta ask that to yourself. So always, as I end each video, as a critical thinking skill, think for yourself, question everything. That is a very important critical thinking skill. So thus ends my false analogy, fallacy video for today.